we want to bring in Representative Mike Lawler of New York now. He joins us live. Congressman, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate your time. Let's first just begin with the reaction to these protests. You obviously spoke out on this earlier today.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the protests here in Columbia University, as well as across the country at different institutions, are anti-Semitic, period. They are rooted in hatred of Jews, and we see it continue to fester on campuses all across this country. It's why I introduced two pieces of legislation: Stop Anti-Semitism on College Campuses Act and the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. Stop Anti-Semitism on College Campuses would defund any institution of higher learning that sanctions or promotes or allows this type of anti-Semitic behavior on their campuses, including taking away student aid. The Anti-Semitism Awareness Act would require the Department of Education to adopt the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism and all of its contemporary examples. If we're to root out anti-Semitism here in America, it's got to start in our education system. And it requires these schools, these institutions, to be accountable and to take action. And if they refuse to, then it's incumbent upon the federal government to take action against them.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot of that today. Hold these people accountable, hold universities accountable for allowing these incidents to continue to happen. You mentioned that these aren't peaceful. Ironically, today we heard from AOC, who's quoted here in this tweet from Lucas Tomlinson, saying, "We once again witnessed the leadership of those peaceful student-led protests on campuses like Columbia, Yale, Berkeley, and many others." What did you make of this?
Look, these are the same people who were demanding safe spaces when Donald Trump was president, but yet have no problem with the behavior that is going on these campuses where Jews are being assaulted simply because they're Jewish. We're being told that they should go back to Poland, the very place many of their ancestors were slaughtered in the Holocaust. This is the problem that we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who fundamentally have a warped view of America. They don't believe in the Judeo-Christian values that really are the underpinning and the foundation of this country. And they believe that the United States and Israel are evil. And when you look at the fact that you have people supporting Hamas, a terrorist organization that was responsible for the indiscriminate slaughtering of women, children, and babies simply because they're Jewish, it speaks volumes to the outrageous conduct of these folks. I, for one, would like to see the Palestinian people free from their oppressor. Their oppressor is Hamas. Hamas has used innocent Palestinians as human shields for years, and they have launched strikes against Israel repeatedly, violating ceasefires 8 times in the last 15 years. This is not a group of people that wants peace. They want to kill Jews. And so, it is incumbent on us here in the United States not only to support our ally Israel, but to fight back against the anti-Semitism we're seeing on these college campuses.
Yeah, and to your point, peaceful protests are, of course, one thing, but we've also seen dozens of arrests amid all of these that have happened over the last week. Where do you think the line was crossed? What's the message that you're hearing from Jewish students in particular?
Listen, everyone has the right to voice their opinion about policy, about issues. They have the right to protest. What you don't have the right to do is cause or threaten to cause physical harm and violence against others. And that's exactly what we're seeing on these college campuses. These protests are manifesting themselves into a very hostile environment for Jewish students all across this country. And it's wrong. It's wrong. You want to, quibble with policy of the United States or Israel, that's your right. But the moment it manifests itself into calling for death to Israel or death to America, or using from the river to the sea as a chant, which is calling for the eradication of Israel, you are threatening the very existence of the Jewish people. And that cannot be tolerated. We've seen what happens when it is. It's called the Holocaust. And over 6 million Jews were slaughtered because a lot of people stood by and watched as Hitler and the Nazi regime slaughtered Jews. That cannot happen again. And we must, as the United States, the first country to recognize the state of Israel 11 minutes after its founding. We need to stand by them. We need to stand by the Jewish people and make sure that they can live peacefully and in freedom and practice their faith, just as I, as a practicing Catholic, can practice mine.
Yeah, and I think that that moment earlier today during your news conference, it was very powerful. You can see Fox's Chad program here highlighting some of your message earlier as well. But we're seeing a lot of this reaction that also includes today the New England's Patriots owner, Robert Kraft, coming out saying he's not comfortable supporting his alma mater of Columbia due to the handling of ongoing protests. Is there any response so far that you're seeing from university leadership on this? Is the lack of support from a major donor like Kraft a wake-up call?
Well, we saw this earlier with Harvard, MIT, and Penn, and now Columbia. And I think all of the major donors should strongly consider pulling their funding until such time that these institutions take seriously the responsibility that they have. I joined all of my New York colleagues on the Republican side in calling for the president of Columbia's resignation. She, like the presidents of Harvard and MIT and UPenn, failed miserably in her responsibility to ensure the safety and well-being of all students on campus and to crack down on this anti-Semitic hate that has run rampant on these campuses, including here at Columbia University. So I think it is past time for not just the donor class, but the elected, officials across the country to come down on these universities and colleges that have allowed this to fester in these great institutions, these once great institutions of higher education, and put an end to it once and for all.
Congressman Mike Lawler joining us here on Live Now from Fox. Congressman, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you.